What is up? Welcome to this week's episode of Lambgoat's Vanflip podcast. Today I'm joined by Michael, not Mike, and we'll get into that earlier. Or not earlier, but we'll get into that just now later here. Of the band Helloween. He is guitar player for the long-running German power metal band Helloween. Michael, welcome to the show today. How are you doing?
I'm good. Did you call me the guitar player?
Yeah. No? Was I wrong on that?
I'm the singer.
I got you and Andy mixed up. Okay. Vocalist.
Andy is the other singer. He doesn't play the guitar either.
Jesus. Okay, well then let me see here really quick. There's some wrong informations on the internets here. No, I had the other Michael. I had the other Michael in mind, the guitarist Michael.
That's true. Yeah. We have another Michael and he plays the guitar, but he looks very different than I do.
No, yeah, I agree. All right. Well, again, Michael, the vocalist or one half of the vocalist of Helloween. Welcome to the show. We'll start that over. How are you doing today, Michael?
That's a good start. You got to keep it.
Of course, I definitely will keep it, but for continuity's sake, for you and I, we'll start it.
Yeah, the nickname that they use over here for me is Michi. Michi,
and that's different than Mike.
Mike, because we do have a first name that's called Mike.
Interesting.
Yeah,
and that's different. That's differently derived from Michael in general.
Yeah, it's Mike.
That's how Mike is spelled here, though, too.
Yeah. Okay. But maybe I'm wrong. But I always thought it's a real name. Like Mike Krüger. We have here, like a comedian.
Yeah. I mean, I could see how it could possibly be different. I just don't know if that's
a real name. But sometimes this happens down the line. That you have a nickname and it becomes a real name.
Yeah.
The parents call their children that.
Well, names are very weird. Last names are even weirder. Like, and of course you're from, Europe and stuff like that, where a lot of surnames come from that have been used all over the world. So,
and they have like a lot of the very old ones. They have meanings which can show you where they came from. It's like Schuster is the guy who did the shoes for you.
Yeah. There's so many Smiths
like Müller or Becker. Boris Becker bakes the bread. That's where they came from the medieval ages. I mean, we didn't get born with the name stamp on our heads. There was a time where they gave us a name. It was like the tribe, or like and I'm not completely into that subject, but somewhere down the line, somebody invented the names.
Yeah. Like if we were to be given names for what we do, I would be like David Blogger or something, like internet nerd,
Exactly. Who knows?
It's not as cool.
Maybe there's another woke law coming up that you can even choose your name.
I think some people already are doing that. But anyway, we'll move on. Oh, Michael. Anyway, you guys are like very deep into the discography at this point. I'm not even going to touch on like EPs, live releases, or anything like that. But if my calculations are correct, you guys have your 19th album coming up.
I think it's 17, but I might be wrong. I'm just referring to an interview that I did yesterday. He was saying 17. I didn't count, but he said 17.
I did count.
But maybe there's something else in there, like maybe it's 19. I don't know. I gotta ask you guys. Someone has to know.
We're going back from like Walls of Jericho all the way to Giants and Monsters. I think it's 19. Well, at least on Encyclopedia Metallum and Wikipedia, they have it listed.
They're probably better informed than I am.
Isn't that weird? You've been in the band for this long. I mean, like in the 80s. I mean, you started in this band in the 80s. It's been insane.
I don't even count my guitars. I don't know how many guitars I have. It's like, I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. Do bands normally count the record releases that they have done?
Well, I don't think many bands can say they have almost 20 albums in their discography. So I would assume that it's easy for other bands to forget. I think
it's more like fans or journalists who count the records, and
of course. But I mean, if you're in a band that has like 4 records, it's quite easy to know that you have 4 records out.
That's true.
And I mean,
and I've been out of the band for quite some time, so I don't even know how many records they have released with Andy. like after my time. I wouldn't even be able to tell how many that was.
Let's see. When did you? It doesn't say here.
I was like early 90s. I was out.
Yeah.
No, sorry, 94.
Yeah, it says 93 you left or whatever, but 2017 you came back into the fold. What I really want to start talking to you about is like early dramatic power metal and metal in general in the early 80s, because it's always interesting to me that the tastes of like European metal and American metal differ very, very much so. Whereas I think a lot of metal in Europe is accessible. It's accessible to a lot more people on a broader scale. With you have different types of metal that are basically palatable over there that aren't necessarily palatable here. Though we do have power metal fans and fans of metal that may be folk based or folk inspired, or some of these little niches of different kinds of genres that you guys have, but it's very plentiful over there. And I'm just curious as to like, I always ask like bands from Europe like what their thought is on that. So I'm going to direct it to you, Michael. Like, what is your thought and what got you into it at such an early time frame?
I got into it when I was 14. It was through a friend of mine. I was still in school. And it was a good time to get into it. It was the time when Judas Priest released Screaming for Vengeance and Iron Maiden released Number of the Beast. And I think Kill 'Em All from Metallica was just around the corner. When did they release that? Was that 82, 83?
In that ballpark. I can Google it real quick while you're talking about it.
It was a great time to get into it. I mean, it came from England, so it always, it's like the most of the influences were from England, from Great Britain. But I mean, looking at a band like Queensryche, for instance, when they showed up with The Warning, I thought they sounded very European. I thought they sounded really like a lot of Iron Maiden was in there, and when it came to, I agree with you. It's like the hard rock and even metal kind of bands coming from the United States. I would say that they were usually more radio friendly.
A little bit, yeah.
It was more
at that time.
The arrangements were more like so that you can make a single and stuff like that. Not necessarily with a band like Queensryche, but I think they were like really different compared to. I mean, the hair metal band was an American thing. Didn't catch on to me, I must say. I mean, Metallica is different again, isn't it? I mean,
yeah, a little bit.
I mean, and Metallica was really influenced by European bands. They were like.
Well, Lars is European, so I could see that.
Yeah. I mean, I think that when you talk about the commercial side of rock and hard rock music, I think that the hair metal movement, that was a very American thing.
I've never thought about it.
Yeah.
Metallica
it never caught on to me, to be honest with you. I never cared about these type of bands. I was like always, it was like Maiden, Priest, Black Sabbath, Metallica, Queensryche, these kind of bands was my cup of tea when it comes to that sort of music.
Yeah. What were you into beforehand? Like what was a young...
Elvis and Beatles. That was my thing. And even in my hardest metal times where I looked completely metal with long hair and everything, I was still listening to other music. It was never a dogmatic religion to me because there's just so much great music out there. I was still listening to, I mean, believe it or not, at the same time that I was listening to Metallica Kill 'Em All, I was also listening to Barbra Streisand or Kate Bush or Pat Benatar. I didn't care. I was just, music never needed to be loud for me to be good. It's fun, but it doesn't matter. A good song, good performance, that's all I need. I just need to be moved. I never had that only metal. I never had that.
Didn't have that construct only that thing.
I was very open-minded my entire life when it comes to music, and classical music is like maybe the main music I'm listening to for years now.
Interesting.
I would say 90% of the music I'm listening to is European classical music.
And obviously, like when you get into heavy metal or whatever metal at that time in the 80s, I would assume that your you found joy for singing with like Elvis and the Beatles and whatnot, because if you're growing up on that, obviously there's a lot of melodies. Those guys, I mean, all five of those people, Elvis and the Beatles, are very charismatic, frontman singing vocalists. So is that how you kind of approached being in a band, was always singing in that style? You never really thought about maybe doing something more like a Metallica style vocals or anything like that? It was always kind of like singing.
Before I got into the metal music, I was singing Elvis tunes. I had with my friends. We were like with two acoustic guitars. We were playing Beatles songs and singing harmonies. That was the first kind of stuff that I was doing. And when I was writing songs, it was more like acoustic stuff, like singer-songwriter stuff. And when I got into Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and these kind of bands, this was when I was forming my own school band, because this is band music. It's not really something for solo artists, if you ask me. Yeah, and then I was trying to sing differently. I was trying to see how it works to sing higher, with Bruce Dickinson, or later on Geoff Tate. That was quite exciting. It was some kind of a transition from Elvis and the Beatles to hard rock and metal.
Yeah.
Like I said, I didn't stop listening to that stuff, but it changed what I wanted to do in terms of music.
Yeah. And how do you, I mean, like,
I wanted to be another Elvis, but that didn't work out either.
So when you guys were originally getting together, I mean, the term power metal is probably not even being used or tossed around at this time in the mid 80s, because, that is kind of like the birthplace of power metal. But like,
whatever that is, I still don't understand what it is. It's like, if you ask me what we did as Helloween, we were just influenced by all these bands that I was mentioning, right, and we made our soup out of it, I mean, when you're listening to Accept, Fast as a Shark, for instance, that's power metal, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
but I mean, like, you didn't have like Scorpions and Accept, but then like also you can toss Helloween in that little same time era and whatnot. So maybe those are who's to blame is like you, Accept, Scorpions, and all these other types of bands that didn't know they were doing power metal, and that's why you don't really understand what it is, because
I don't know what it is, because it's like we were just combining everything that we thought was cool, and then writing the songs that they did, and of course you give it your own fingerprint. That's what every band does. You are influenced by something and you do it your own way. And if you have a strong fingerprint, it sounds original. That's how it goes. But I wouldn't go as far as that is like a new musical style or anything. I think we just gave it our own flavor.
Yeah.
You can say that Queensryche The Warning sounded a lot like Iron Maiden, but when you listen more closely, it doesn't. They had their own sound right away.
Yeah.
And everybody is influenced by everyone out of excitement. You get excited about something, and then you figure things out, and it influences the way you write songs or the way you play guitar or sing. And I think it's more progression. You just extend on what you grew up with, and you make your own thing out of it. That's what everybody does. There's no singer that hasn't been influenced by another singer, male or female, doesn't matter. You get it. That's how you get the idea of becoming a singer. You get excited about something.
Of course, yeah.
So that, I mean, anyone who says that he's not influenced by anyone, I don't believe it. I mean, how do you get the idea of doing this? You gotta get a kick out of somebody else,
Yeah. No, it is. It's you mentioned it there. Like all the bands, just you play all the stuff that you like from all the bands that you enjoy, and I think the melding of that is where the power comes from. Maybe that is like you're taking all these influences and it's just very powerful, and so now you're writing
Chris
metal.
Jericho. I did an interview like 2 weeks ago with Chris Jericho, who is like a big supporter of the band.
The wrestler, right? You're talking about the wrestler.
Yeah, the wrestler, exactly. He always says that he called himself Jericho because of Walter Jericho. Which I thought he was actually living for a brief time in Germany, and he saw us live when he was really young in Hamburg. I didn't. He told me that quite a while ago, but I forgot about it. And he's just mentioned it again. And he once said, I don't even think he said it in an interview with me. I think he said it somewhere else when he was talking about Helloween, that what he liked about Helloween was that the combination of Metallica and Iron Maiden. That's how he hears it. Like a combination might be. I mean, those two bands definitely were favorite bands of us.
For sure. And, the thing is, I think, going back, touching base on the power metal thing, just because we brought up Metallica again and it made me think about it. But I think just like the approach for American metal at the time was more aggressive, fast paced, more like, going in the thrash direction, so to speak. And it's more rigid. Punk. I would assume it's more rigid. Punk. Yeah, punk and all that.
That's what James Hetfield said a few times, that they were excited about the energy of punk.
Yeah.
But the punk bands couldn't play.
Yeah.
So they wanted the energy, but they wanted to play and have like a decent band that can play. And when you listen to Kill 'Em All with that in your mind, you can hear that.
Yeah.
There is a bit of a punk energy in there.
Yeah. It wore off as the years went on with that band, but they still
they evolved. They evolved and create the typical Metallica sound kind of. It was almost there, but it was really there on Ride the Lightning. I think that's when they finally had their sound, and of course it changed over the records. But I thought it was a kind of a revelation when he said that they liked the punk energy, but the punk bands never were able to play, and they wanted to be able to play their instruments, and that combination. Also, his vocals, I think they were very punky. It was kind of
different for the time. But I think with that is like going back to what I was saying is American metal and music at that time just seemed a lot more rigid. Whereas,
what does rigid mean?
Just like you're in a certain box and you can't really like get out of it. You have like don't color out of the lines. Like what I mean? Color in the lines, regardless of what it is. It could be pop
American
music.
Influences are different. What I always thought when I was trying to analyze the American songwriting, in many ways, you can almost hear a little bit of country in there.
I think everyone is a little bit of country, and regardless of what they think. There's a bit
of country in there. It's like the hair band, like the ballads. It's a touch of country, just in the way of how it gets arranged and some of the chord changes, which is not bad. I mean, but that's quite American.
I think because of I think in the 60s and 70s with the war stuff going on that we were involved in, and a lot of the sounds of that time, Southern rock was very big, and blues.
Even in Metallica, you hear
right, and blues.
Some of the vocals of him,
It's
like there's a bit of country in there sometimes when you think about it. And some of the later, like on the Black album and stuff.
Yeah, a lot of and he's obviously later in the discography. You can definitely tell it's a lot more twangy in times. But with blues eventually getting country, and then that country in the 90s and the 80s was big here, and so that's probably why you do hear a lot of that. It's just we're a lot of hillbillies.
I mean, the same way as Europeans get influenced by European kind of music, Americans, of course, from young ages influenced by typical American kind of, and it goes into your DNA. I mean, it's just you can't avoid it, And that it definitely sounds different, but I was wrong many times. I thought it's an American band, and it wasn't. Or like Queensryche, if you would have asked me, clearly British band,
Yeah. Speaking of British bands, and you guys, are influenced by the British heavy metal new wave era. Ozzy died a couple weeks ago, and I was just curious as to as someone who kind of grew up with Ozzy being already like an elderman in the metal world, I didn't really give him the attention that I probably should have. I've seen Black Sabbath live before. Like I saw them at Ozfest 2001, but that wasn't the band that I was going there for. I stayed and hung out and saw a couple songs, but it went right over my head. I
got into Black Sabbath with Ronnie Dio, to be honest with you. I wasn't much into Ozzy either. He got me later.
Yeah.
Solo stuff.
Yeah.
Buck at the Moon. When he always had these great guitar players. And I personally like his solo stuff better than his phase of Black Sabbath. I thought Black Sabbath was way better with Ronnie Dio, but Ozzy's solo was great.
I haven't gotten to that part of the discography yet. I've been forcing myself to go back through, and I'm stuck on the first 4 albums. But the first album,
Black Sabbath, you mean? Oh,
right, Black Sabbath. Because I never.
Mob Rules and Heaven and Hell.
Yeah.
I mean, those are absolute classics. I mean,
there are definitely songs that I was like, oh, this isn't an Ozzy song. This is a Black Sabbath song. Like War Pigs was obvious in my head, like Ozzy, because
that's Ozzy. Yeah. That was the early ones.
Oh, I mean, solo artist Ozzy, not just.
I think it's because I was not young in the 70s. I was a child in the 70s, and I got into music when I was a teenager in the 80s, and that's when Ronnie Dio was in Black Sabbath. I think that's normal that you're more influenced. It's like some young ones preferring the later Star Wars movies than the original ones, which I think they're nothing compared to the original ones, but that's how I grew up.
Right.
I grew up with those.
You got introduced with it.
Yeah. And that's but Ozzy grew on me. I own his records, his solo records, and I thought they were really cool. And he was basically getting better and better.
Yeah.
The record was just always getting better.
I've dabbled in the earlier Ozzy solo discography too in this last month, but it's just something that I never, like you were just saying, like you got into Dio and not Ozzy because and in my mindset, it's like my dad listened to Black Sabbath and Ozzy Osbourne, so that's like old man music compared to my young, youthful interests at the time, and I never really went back and visited, but I've been deep in a hole this last month, and it's obviously you can see where Black Sabbath and Ozzy has touched all over this little world that we're in the metal world. So it was quite interesting.
I remember that even when I got into this type of music, and I knew Heaven and Hell and Mob Rules right away. That was my introduction to Black Sabbath. And then I was going back to the older ones, and they just didn't catch on to me. I didn't care for them too much. Again, that's a generation thing. It's quite normal.
Well, for bands and artists that can maintain like 40 years of, a career, which in this particular world is quite difficult. Like how do you approach staying relevant, within like musically, or is it something you guys think about at all?
No, you can't. And you can stay relevant. I mean, everybody tries to, but it either is or it isn't. And it has to do with the spirit within the band. It's like a battery. You need the battery needs to be charged, and sometimes you need to recharge it or whatever. But Helloween is at a great place. I mean, not only in terms of success, we play the biggest places we've ever played. We were not even as successful as we are now in the 80s. But in terms of creativity, we have written 2 records. We not just that one, even the material for the next one is already there.
Oh, wow, cool.
Yeah, the band is just in a good place. The creativity was just flowing, and we always think it's great. Otherwise, you wouldn't release the record. I mean, you work on the album, and if you feel like that's cool, then you're done. If you're not satisfied, you throw out some songs and write some new ones until you like it. So we like it anyway. When we release it, we think it's great. But and this is why it's always exciting to get a feedback, and the feedback is amazing. I mean, people even like it better than the previous one. We like it better than the previous one, but that's just us.
Yeah.
But when it comes to staying relevant, it has to do with staying passionate. I mean, some bands don't have a lot to say musically. I mean, a band like AC/DC, as much as we all love them, when you know Highway to Hell and Back in Black, you know AC/DC. That's it.
Yeah.
And that's it. There's just nothing else to AC/DC than like 2, 3, or maybe the early records were a bit more bluesy. The Bon Scott years, there was more changes and stuff. And then there are other bands who had a lot. Helloween is a band that has musically a lot to offer. When you look at all the records, there's just so much different stuff going on that, and you made it your own by making these records. So you can use everything, and nothing is not Helloween. You can, because you've done so many things, and that was one of the things that was always great about this band, especially when we started off. We were completely fearless. I mean, something like the Keeper 2 record with a song like Rise and Fall, Dr. Steen, where you have the comedy There's a comedy aspect to it, with it was not very serious. We took it serious to make these records, but we allowed a sense of humor and like a comic element to get into it. And that made us different. But this, you have to be fearless, and you have to always kind of adjust to your heart, because any musician, I mean, the good musicians, they always start making music out of being excited, like I said earlier. Right. So it comes from the heart. It's passion. That's the whole reason why I started making music. I was excited about music. That was it. It was not that I was sitting down and thinking that could be a great job. What do I do? Do I work in a band or do I work in a bank? You know what I mean? It doesn't exist. No musician, you are just born like that. It's what you want to do. And when you get successful, usually a lot of bands, they sell their soul by, the money comes in, and then as soon as the money is great, it's fun to make money, no doubt about it. But if that becomes the motivation for what you're doing, that's when bands become, do you say irrelevant?
Well, they try to be relevant, and they probably become irrelevant.
Is it when you lose the heart, when you lose the soul, you lose the spirit, you lose the spark, and that's when you become boring. You just and this is the fight that every artist, at a certain level, every human being, but when it comes to, we're talking music, so it's like every musician is in that fight, knowing or not. I mean, successful musicians, okay, that you're always in this fight. What you want to do, what your heart needs, so that you stay excited, and the money, the business side. And this is where everything gets decided in the end. And you have artists being in phases where they lose the spark, and then they get depressed, and they feel horrible, and then they kind of find it again. Okay, happens, or they completely die. It's a spiritual thing, and I think that's the only way for a band to stay relevant. If you should never sell your soul. We all need to make money, but it shouldn't own you.
Right? No, I get that.
It should not be eating your soul. But you need some kind of a spiritual backbone to be able to do that. If you are, from the way you understand your life, if you are a classical materialist, you will be getting eaten by it. It's just, I don't think it's possible not to. But if you have a spiritual backbone, it will always make sure it helps you to keep the distance. It's like you're not drowning in it. The meaning of life is something else for you than the money and fame and houses and cars. All these material kind of things. They're not the main thing while you're living. And this is why I'm not talking religions. Religions are not. They're not necessarily very spiritual. Okay.
No. Yeah,
I'm talking
they're different.
Living spirituality. That's a different kind of thing. But these things can make that you stay relevant. And I think the band still is. We sound like ourselves. I mean, we have our sound, which comes from the songwriting styles of the songwriters. They can't be who they're not. So it's like when Wyke writes a song, you will always hear somehow it's Wyke. Same goes for Kai or Andy. Andy has a complete, has his own style of songwriting, not just singing, but also songwriting. You can tell it's an Andy song. So that's something that's always going to be there, just because of the musicians writing songs, the way they learn how to do it.
It's probably easier too, because the newest member of your band has been in the band 20 years now. So you know what I mean?
But don't forget, I've been off the band.
Right. But you've been in the sphere for so long. And I want to get into that in a little bit, but we're going to finish this little situation.
For me, it's like a second, what do you call it? A second
era,
honeymoon?
second coming, second honeymoon. What, I mean, that's the thing too, because we talked just now about like, what are you going to do? Music, work in a band, or work in a bank? I was curious as to, did you lose that spark in the mid 90s and then try something else and go work in the
didn't lose the spark for or music in general, but I was disappointed. I was really disappointed how everything went down, and I mean a whole lot of things. It was not just the on the personal level within the band, but there was also this label shit that was going down, the band being screwed, and I was just very disappointed. And then it was adding to when I was doing my solo records, and I never tried to copy Helloween. When I did solo records, I was just writing songs. It made absolutely no sense to me trying to sound like Helloween. You know what I mean? That would have been the typical business decision. So I didn't. I was just making whatever. And then you had the typical criticism, oh, it doesn't sound like Helloween. Well, it's not trying to. So that made me even more getting pissed about the whole thing. So I didn't want to have anything to do with the metal scene, with the music scene over a number of years. But it wasn't that I lost the excitement about music. I was just disappointed about how things ended up with Helloween. And it took some time to get over that. It was like I needed to get older, and then it kind of fell off.
Right.
And then it came together again, interestingly, even though for many years I didn't think that anything like that would be possible.
Right. And not only you didn't just return, but Kai also returned around the same time. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah, but the thing is, I was with Kai in Unisonic before. So we did this when I got back into doing more guitar weighted music. I was touring with Avantasia, and then I think on the second tour, Kai was also part of Avantasia, and that's when we started talking again that we should do something together. And then he joined Unisonic, and we did 2 records and 2 or 3 tours with Unisonic, and that led to the reuniting with Helloween in the end.
And then that's when the whole group is like a trio vocalist fronted group type situation.
Well, in the beginning, when we started talking about doing a Pumpkins United thing, there was no talk about Kai singing at all. I mean, that wasn't, but it just ended up that way.
Yeah.
We had this bit of Walter Jericho in the live set, this medley where he was singing, but it was never actually the plan to have him sing on the album. But he wanted to, and we let it happen, and now we love it. We just have another flavor of
right. Is it hard?
Vocal.
Is it hard to kind of like juggle the 3 of you guys as far as like lyric, like placement, and when you come in, when you leave, like when you're featured, when you're not?
Not really. I was surprised myself how easy it actually is. Most of the time, the songwriter has a singer in his mind. It's like when Sasha did Universe, he said right away, "I wrote this for Michael. I want Michael to sing it." Kai usually wants to sing all of his songs.
Go figure.
Which is a bit disappointing sometimes. He was okay this time. This time it was no. On the first record, it was a bit of a discussion going down because he wanted us to do most of the vocals of Skyfall. And I know he wrote it for me because when he was writing the song, he was sending it to me and he was talking, it's going to sound great when you do this and that. And then somebody told him probably that he has to sing it or whatever. So he wanted to sing it. And that was a bit of a discussion going. There was no fight, but it was a discussion going down that's just not the best for the song,
Right.
I mean, so he was able to, we left some of the parts where he sounded really good. I mean, of course he has to say yes in the end. It's his song, but that was the only time where there was a bit of a discussion going down. With me and Andy, never. With me and Andy, it's always the song. We just figure out whatever sounds cool for the song, with the help of the producers, who are just more objective to a certain extent.
Right.
I mean, everybody can sing every song, and it would sound fine, I mean, but we are very different. So sometimes you just need to try it, and then you can figure out, okay, this is where Andy shines, or this is where Michael shines, or this is perfect for Kai. But it is quite easy because we're so different. You just have the voice in the head. Yeah. Sometimes you're wrong, but most of the time it's exactly right, the way you hear it.
Yeah.
Unless the songwriter knows right away, I want this guy or this guy to sing it.
It's also kind of cool / interesting that you have the ability to like, well, if it doesn't work with Michael, let me try Kai. You know, even though I might have written it for you, and, you know, and you have the ability internally.
That happens. It happens that I'm trying a vocal recording one evening, and I just don't feel like, I don't know about this here. Andy should try this. You know, Andy should give this a try. This sounds like Andy to me. And then the next day he gives it a try, or the other way around. I mean, he wrote Into the Sun, and the lyrics. I mean, I loved the song right away. The first version, they recorded it for the previous album, and it didn't come on the album because they changed it too much. They changed the key and everything. But that was a song that he was originally singing, and then he thought we should make a duet out of it. But then he had to change the lyrics a little. A lot actually. The song was more sexual at first, and now it's spiritual because we're not gay. So it would have sounded weird to do a duet with lyrics like that. And it turned out really strong, in my opinion. But that was a process. It was not, when he did the song, there was just it was not planned as a duet. I mean, of course he was singing it because it was his song, but it kind of, we both sang it this time. There's a complete Kiske version and a complete Andy version, and they're both going to get released. But on the album, we have this duet version. And it's very often it's a process. I think Andy usually writes songs like with a plan. It's like I don't remember the title of the song. There was one song on the previous record. It was quite speedy. We never play it live. That's why I can't remember the title. But he wrote that with both singers in mind. And that happens. But it is easy, much easier than even I would have thought.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like it would be a daunting task for most people, but you guys seem to just fall into the groove with it, which makes me think that writing in general for you all comes quite naturally. And I'd like to know more about, like, how does the writing process for Helloween start? I mean, it seems like everyone in the band can play a guitar. And I would assume the drummer might even fiddle on that, with all you guys having experience in guitar. So is it like, how long does it take for Helloween to write a song or an album or whatnot, and what goes into that?
I mean, I didn't even try this time to write a song. I could have. At the same time with the previous records, I was not trying to write anything, because we have like 6 potential songwriters in this band.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody can write songs, and I just didn't even try. Might happen. Maybe next time. I don't know.
Well, you got a whole nother album in the can, so you got to wait a little longer.
Yeah, and it's all there, and I'm sure there's new stuff coming down. But what was the question again?
I was just curious as to the songwriting process for the band, because you guys have so many guitar players and so many songwriters and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
yeah, that's interesting. That's quite funny, because
yeah.
I don't know how long it takes. It's probably different every time, depending on to get over the writer's block that almost everybody has in the beginning. Andy was quite quick. I think it was maybe within 10 weeks. He had something like 10 songs or something. I don't. But he's always very pragmatic. Is that an English word?
Yeah.
He just he records the basic idea, like the verse, bridge, chorus, and then he sends it around and wants a feedback. And if everybody says, yeah, that's cool, then he finishes it, makes an arrangement. And with Sasha, it's very different. Sasha has his songs usually completely pre-produced. They're like beginning to end.
All instruments, like every facet of it.
It doesn't mean that it stays like that. I mean, when the band starts to play the songs, of course they change things around. I mean, Kai loves to change everything, and it sounds different when the drum computer is there, or when Donnie plays the drums. Of course, he makes a decent arrangement.
Has it been flexible internally for people to kind of bend with, like, say, like he comes with a song already produced and made, but you guys want to change things, is that easy for people, or is it kind of like
again, depends on the person.
Okay.
Sasha is always very, very sensitive when it comes to these things.
Yeah, some people are.
Yeah, very sensitive. And I mean, of course, when he likes the idea, of course, he's open, but he's quite sensitive with it. Kai is very open. He doesn't have a problem with it at all if someone comes with an idea. And Andy is even on the guitars very keen, which I thought was interesting, because when I was there, they were recording guitars when I was in Tenerife doing vocals, they were still recording some guitars with Sasha, and Andy plays the rhythm guitars on his demos, and it was kind of interesting to see that he's very keen on things being exactly the way he thinks and stuff, which is, it's like everybody's different there. Of course. Everybody's different. And it probably also depends on the song. If that's something in particular that you love, you want it to be like that. And if it's something that is nice, but not that important to you, you're probably more open to other suggestions. And I personally think it's important that you let the musicians come through. Yeah. It's important that the musicians are able to be themselves and give it their own fingerprint. I think that's important.
Agreed. And to be flexible, again, that's hard for if you come and you're presenting your baby to the group and then you've fiddled with it so much to where you love it and then it gets ripped apart. I can understand people being...
It gets done. It's like in the beginning, everybody loves his baby.
Yeah.
But it's never really a problem. And of course, it doesn't happen if the songwriter is not happy with it.
True.
You can't change the song of a songwriter in a direction that he's not happy with it. Of course, that's not going to happen, But we're not teenagers anymore. We did this for quite some time, and it makes you become a little wiser. You learn to deal with all these things, and you more and more appreciate the input that others might have.
True.
Even if you maybe don't agree with it right away, you give it a try. You see what comes out of it. I mean, even me. I mean, I'm someone, I don't like it when anyone tries to tell me how to sing a song.
Yeah, I can see that.
I think it's wrong. I think if the singer doesn't know how to sing a song or figures out for him or herself how to sing a song, how is their identity? You know what I mean? If you work with a producer that tries to make you sing in a way he thinks you should sound, it's already wrong. I think a producer should just motivate you,
right,
to do your thing.
Yeah.
But there was a situation where I was doing the vocals for a song, and I thought it was great. I did them with Dennis, and the next day Dennis said that Charlie thinks these verses over there, you should sing them a little more, maybe like that. I don't like that at all. Right. But I was putting my ego aside and gave it a try, and he was right.
Yeah, you got to be open sometimes, and that's hard.
When I was younger, in younger years, I would not have done it.
Yeah.
But today I said, okay, I give it a try, and he was right.
Yeah.
And that's a good experience when you realize, okay, cool.
Well, you've also experienced. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
I mean, next time you are open even more for suggestions. And that, he wasn't trying to make me sing like someone else. I mean, one of his main arguments was, it doesn't sound enough like Kiske to me. That was one of his main arguments, because when you have a demo version where the songwriter is singing and you learn the song, you have the tendency to copy that at first. And you sound a bit like Kai or a bit like Andy or whatever. And you have to get over that. You have to make the song your own. So Charlie is absolutely on the right track when it comes to identity and stuff like that. But I remember that. That's why I'm telling you this. I remember this because it was a new experience to me. I mean, I was so heavy on fuck you, I don't want to have anyone telling me how to sing, that I even did the vocals just for Unison in my own studio, on my own. Nobody there to tell me anything. When I liked it, it was good. So, but I'm a lot more open now. I don't have to protect anything. I don't feel threatened by this anymore. And these experience is when someone has an input, or he was not criticizing. It was just a suggestion.
But it comes across as a criticism when you first hear it. Yeah, yeah.
I mean, if you're in the ego mode, it comes across like an attack, but it wasn't, and he was right, and that was a good experience to see. Okay, cool. And so next time,
yeah, you're more open. But it's also a little different with vocalists because it's your voice, and it's not like you can change the tuning on the guitar or like learn a lick on the guitar. This is all I've got. You know what I mean?
I know. It's you. Your voice is you. Yeah. You play a guitar, but when you sing, this is you. Yeah. And you'd be surprised how many bad producers are out there.
No, I pretty much, I think that, there's half and half.
They don't understand the whole idea of identity. What is a good vocal performance? A good vocal performance is when you come through, your voice, what you have to say, that only you can do. That makes unique vocals. Many people can sing. There's nothing about being able to sing nicely and having control. All that matters in the end is the spirit that comes across. And that's something that only you can do. And the more a producer is fighting against that, a good producer just creates a frame, a situation that makes you more yourself, that you feel comfortable and you feel great and you can bring a great performance. That's a good producer to me. A bad producer for a real band. I mean, there are bands that have not much identity, and maybe then those superstar producers who give it their fingerprint are good. Okay. Mm-hmm. But if you have a band that has its own sound, and you have a singer or guitar player that has identity, it works against what makes that individual who he is or she is. You know what I mean?
Right.
And you'd be surprised how many producers out there just don't get it.
No, I'm pretty, I mean, anyone can be a producer. You know what I'm saying? If you can't play music, you may as well just be a producer. Not saying that producers are...
A great producer is great because he makes you better in what you do.
Yeah. So how do you guys choose them?
It's more like the spirit that when I record with Charlie, for instance, I feel good. And when I record with him, I'm sure it's better than if I would do it on my own, in my own little studio. And that's good. It's good to know. He's able to get that extra out of myself.
How do you guys go about choosing them then? Because chances are you probably work with
we always have the same.
Okay, just always the same one.
I know Charlie. I even did my solo records in the long break time that we had with him. Yeah, I got to pee for a second. No, I'm back in a second. Too much coffee.
I get you.
A good example for a great producer was Tommy Hansen. When we did the Keeper stuff, he was like, again, he was not afraid of anything. I mean, all the comical stuff in Rise and Fall, these noises in there. It was them fooling around during the nighttime, probably being drunk or whatever. Right. The record company hated it because it sounded nothing like the previous record. And usually, when you've had a successful record, that's the blueprint. Record companies are stupid. They don't understand anything about it. They just want
the money and
numbers but they destroy everything. They're just too stupid to make money because it's like by destroying creativity, by destroying originality, you don't make money. You know what I mean? It's just that they don't get it. But Tommy was perfect in those days because with the band together, they created that unique sound of the Keeper records that have kind of defined the career of myself for sure, but also for the band. And then he was just the right producer at the right time. So it's not. I mean, some bands are better off without one. If you don't find one that is the right one for you, and you have the technical skills to do it, you might be better off without one.
Awesome.
But if you find the right one,
it's always. I mean, it is a key part of the whole situation, but you also don't want it to be too much of the situation at times too. The right producer or the wrong.
You shouldn't work against you. Yeah. That's the thing. You should be working for you and with you.
I loved how you came. I love how you came.
It's an individuality thing. Some people get it and others don't. Some people feel threatened by strong individuals. Others appreciate it. and want strong individuals around. It has to do with I don't know the English word, how mature you are as an individual.
Yeah.
The ego feels threatened by strong individuals, but a strong individuality appreciates it and knows that this is just a benefit.
Yeah. I love how you came back in just right away to start talking. Last time I've only done one other podcast where somebody had to use the restroom, but they kept talking the entire time because they had like the AirPods on. So we just kind of kept talking. So
I didn't. I would have done that too. I think if I would have used.
No, it's okay.
AirPods.
It's okay. It's okay that we didn't do that. You know, no one needs to hear everything going on in there all the time. But I guess we'll wrap it up. We'll wrap it up here because I know I was going to try to get you out of here earlier, but here we go, running the whole long, almost hour. So it was quite an interesting conversation, Michael. So I appreciate that. For those who are making it this far, one of the things I was curious about, and I'll have to ask this band, but there's a band, American metalcore band, hardcore metalcore band, called Walls of Jericho, and I'm curious as to if it has something to do with maybe a Helloween reference or whatnot, because I know that Walls of Jericho isn't just something that Helloween.
I mean, it's an old story. You got to ask them.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, I wouldn't even think that you would know about it.
One of the reasons why the band changed the A to the E was not so much this; it was just to be different from the movie and from the other two Helloween bands that in those days existed. There was one in America and one in Italy in the 80s that called themselves Helloween. I mean, they never gotten anywhere, so it wasn't a problem. But that's why they changed the A to the E.
It's probably the reason why you guys got somewhere is because you changed it.
Exactly. That's it.
Yeah. I mean, it might not have been for the metal's sake or to give off like some kind of like weird devil thing or whatever, but it definitely plays into it all.
Yeah, we're not devil worshippers at all.
No. But
I don't even think that was the idea. I mean, we know it's a metal cliche.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
But I think they really own. I mean, that's what they always said, that they changed it so that they don't get mistaken for the movie or the other bands.
Yeah. And plus, it doesn't sound as cool as like Helloween with an I or Halloween with an O. So it sounds really cool with Helloween.
Yeah, it worked out nice. Even the logo. I mean, the other Michael. The guitar player, Michael.
Yeah.
He created it. He created the whole logo and right from the start.
It's cool. It all works out. And everything works for the band. And again, that's why you guys are one of the big four in the power metal world, even though you don't necessarily, want to, I don't know.
I don't know what it means.
What it means. Yeah. What does power metal mean? But anyway, for those who think they know.
I remember an interview of Kurt Cobain not knowing what grunge is.
Yeah, I mean,
I think they have the same. It's something that media makes up.
Right.
What is grunge? What is it to you?
Well, it's just a way to classify. I mean, genre is just a way to classify styles of music. So, like, whereas
the four bands that were supposed to be grunge, like Soundgarden, Pearl Jam,
Nirvana,
they don't sound alike at all.
No, but they have a vibe. They have the same like northwestern vibe, for us at least, for here in the States. So like
to me, Soundgarden was like a more progressive Black Sabbath.
Mm-hmm. Well, all of them have Black Sabbath.
And I think Pearl Jam to me is like blues rock. That's how I hear them. Yeah. The only ones that really had some kind of a different sound to me was Nirvana. They had a bit of a different vibe going down. Also, the songwriting was kind of different. But even they didn't know what grunge was supposed to be.
Well, I think that's good, though, because they are just creating grunge as it's happening, and they don't necessarily know. You know what I mean? Like, that group of people had no idea that all the bands that we talked about are the big bands for that time frame today. They didn't know at the time. So they don't know what grunge is. But now we can look back 30 years and be like, grunge is this, just like with power metal or anything, In the moment, you have no idea.
What is the trademark? How would you define it?
Power metal?
No, grunge. It's like what is it? Is it the
punk?
Because
but like not
vocalists
punk?
Don't sound alike.
I think it's kind of like a weird offshoot of like rock and punk, right? Because like again, you don't want to play your instruments great, and everything's kind of like
it's more like the attitude.
Yeah, a little bit, and the sound of it is that as well, right? Like, I don't know, a grunge, because I got into nu metal. I don't know if you're familiar with what nu metal is either.
Yeah, 30 Seconds to Mars, I thought were, like, for a brief time, I thought it was interesting.
I don't think they're nu metal at all. I'm talking like...
Oh, that's what I thought it was.
I'm talking like, Korn, like early Korn, Limp Bizkit,
Okay.
Slipknot, these bands that like were only around for...
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Yeah.
It's too dark.
Yeah, well...
Too dark.
It is what it is, you know what I'm saying? But genres are only genres for...
I mean, especially Slipknot. It's like listening to the Demons. It's like that.
That's what's alluring about it, though, Michael. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, but you train your soul by it.
No, I understand what you're getting at for sure. But the allure and the attraction of it is that it is so heavy and it is kind of like taboo and all that.
But don't forget, any music is a spiritual thing, and it educates the soul. The kind of music you're listening to, the spirit that it has, it shapes and builds on your soul, and the type of things that we are connecting to, they stay valid afterwards, and if we create too much of an attraction to demonic kind of things, we might be very unhappy afterwards. It's like the afterlife is very just. Everything that we say yes to in life or no to, what the afterlife experience is? Everything you created. Mm-hmm. Every love, light, humanity you created, that's what you're going to experience. And all the darkness and inhumanity and love and hate and whatever it is that you create inside, that's what you're going to experience afterwards. So it's the hell and the heaven that we create inside that we're going to experience afterwards. So it does matter what kind of music or expression. And I'm not saying everything has to be painted in pink. There's a lot of darkness in humanity.
No, right.
And I think to a certain extent, it's fine to deal with it, also in art. But just be careful what you're feeding yourself with.
Right. I agree to that. There's a light and a dark out there in the world. Yeah. That's a whole other podcast.
In everyone.
Right. And that's a whole other podcast. And you brought it up at the end here, and I'm like, God dang it. Now I could go another hour about this, but I can't. You know what I mean? But I do agree. And that's the bummer part about it. You just have to you got to be conscious of that and know that, yeah, like you're saying, like you may like a lot of death metal stuff with like gruesome lyrics and this, that, the other stuff. But at some point it does kind of permeate you as a person in general. You may not unknowingly, not saying
it makes you numb. It makes you numb. It influences you. It's even when you play like very violent computer games.
Right. Oh yeah.
Any kind of content. It has no effect. It does have an effect on you.
Yeah, any kind of content. Headlines of the news.
You visualize brutality. You visualize killing the whole time. It has a negative effect on you. And it's like, and I can feel it myself. I mean, I am a gamer. I mean, I like certain racing games and stuff like that. But certain games, I can feel the negative effect it has on me. Or like horror movies, for instance.
Yeah, for sure.
Train your soul in terms of brutality. You train your soul in actually to be less human. It's a dehumanizing effect. And we all have this responsibility for ourselves and what we send out into the world. The message we send out. We are responsible for this. Yeah. And it's going to be some pretty shocking awakening after death for many. Because, we're living in a very materialistic time where people don't take these things seriously, but you wake up in a completely spiritual reality where all the stuff you find in the Bible suddenly becomes the only thing that matters. Mm-hmm. And you don't take your car, you don't take your house, you don't take your money.
No.
You take what's in your soul, what you've built in your soul. That's what you're going to take with you. And that's going to be your reality.
So we'll end on this then. Michael's not really getting ready or anticipating the release of GTA 6.
Of what?
Grand Theft Auto 6.
What is that?
It's just a game where you can run around. Like you've probably seen it. It's been a game forever. Like GTA 5, 4, 3, 2. All of them. You can run around, steal cars, do like mafia missions, and go to strippers and like get lap dances. I think
it also depends who does it. Everybody's different. So it's like a weak mind can easily get bad ideas out of watching a particular movie or playing a particular game. I mean, there's sick people out there. If they wouldn't get triggered through a particular movie or game, they would not have done what they ended up doing. Maybe
agreed. But just because you listen to that or watch that or play these kinds of things doesn't necessarily mean that you'll end up that way. But like you're saying, it can trigger the very small.
It can trigger, and it will. It depends on who you are. Depends on how strong you are and what you make out of it. But everything has an influence, and it doesn't matter if you turn 21. You know, there are certain movies that you are not allowed to watch until you're 21 or 18 or whatever. Right. But it doesn't make you immune, against the violence that's in there or whatever you see. You know, we're still sensitive beings and influenced by everything.
I agree. That's a great way to end the whole thing right here, right now.
Yeah. Spirit matters.
Of course, spirituality matters, and that's the difference between that and religion, obviously, in general. But if you've made it this far,
spirituality sets you free. Religions make you slaves, enslaves you.
That's a good quote right there.
It doesn't set the mind free; it kind of traps you in a system.
I can agree to that. Like I was saying, if you've made it this far with me and Michael of Helloween, Giants and Monsters will be released August 29th through Raining Phoenix Music, and be on the lookout because the boys have a whole nother album obviously in the can that we've talked about here today. I don't know if it's going to take a number of years for it to come out. Hopefully not, but I
don't think more than 2 years. I mean, we're going to play it live now.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it makes no sense to bring out a record every year. So it's like, I think like in 2 or 3 years, it's not going to be long, and it's going to be good because the stuff is already there.
Awesome. Well, Michael, I appreciate your time. Thank you again. It was a great conversation. Michael, the vocalist, not Michael, the guitarist. There's too many Michaels in the band, too many guitarists, too many vocalists in the band. There's the
other Michael still has his hair.
I got the email. In my defense, I only got the email that said Michael and Andy. It didn't have like KW or anything.
It would have been nice with Andy, but he didn't show up. So it's like maybe that was some wrong information. Or maybe it was planned like that and he didn't have time or anything like that.
I think I was going through your North American PR that was conversing with the European PR. There's, a lot of bodies. Yeah. It had to move through a lot of bodies to get to you and I. That's all.
Yeah, that's okay. It was a good start. It was funny.
It always is. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much for the conversation, and I'll be looking forward to the new album.
Yeah, have a good rest of the day. I think it just started at your end, right?
We're about 1:00 right now. Yep. So I got a whole day ahead of me.
Have a good rest of the day then.
Have a good evening, Michael.
Yeah, I will. Bye.